Saturdays, Saturdays, Saturdays. For many working Americans, Saturdays are your rest and relaxation days. The days you can actually get out after a week of drudgery at work. You and thousands of other people hit the road and search for a place to unwind. You decide to pick Kings Island, as it's one of the best amusement parks in America. You know the place is going to be packed. Your friends are busy, it's going to be a scorcher, and you dread waiting in those long lines alone. But what if I told you that it's possible, even on the busiest of days, to rack up 20, 30, or even 40 plus rides on the busiest days of the year? You probably think that is insane and impossible. It's not. And today I will be presenting to you the best way to tackle a full day at Kings Island, from opening to close. All it takes is a little bit of planning, knowledge on the ride capacity and operations, and being tactical on your ride choices throughout the busiest parts of the day. We start our day by arriving early. Kings Island opens a half hour early to season pass holders, and with that, there will be at least 2 coasters you can hit up before they start admitting ticketed guests into the park. Check their website for the rides available, as they rotate the selection throughout the year. Starting June 2024, Snoopy's Soapbox Racers and Diamondback will be the coasters available for the summer ERT. When the park finally opens to all guests, the clock starts ticking. We need to hit as many of the big rides as possible before the crowds congest the rides and midways. At this point, I need to ask you, the viewer, whether you are credit seeking. If so, I would like you to immediately consider hitting all of the lowest capacity rides. In Vertigo, Snoopy's Soapbox Racers, Flying Ace, and Woodstock Express all only run one train. In addition, knocking out Flight of Fear is a must in the early day. This ride regularly receives the worst waits in the entire park. Do not save this ride for later as a way to get out of the summer heat. There is a better option for that I will be mentioning later. If you're not credit seeking, but instead making a return visit, I would advise hitting as many of the park's flagship rides as you can. I consider the 2 large B&M Hypers and the Beast to be Kings Island's flagship rides. If you wonder why I specifically chose these coasters, consider the perspective of your average GP guest. They are going to see the 2 largest coasters in the park when driving in and immediately flock to them. In addition, the Beast is a local legend, and throughout the day, it can receive a massive line of guests waiting. It is at this point that we need to discuss getting a fast lane. Though many will not find it necessary, I personally do not like waiting in long lines for coasters. This especially holds true when the park is hosting a lot of school groups and tour groups. After the park has been open for about 2 hours, your window for getting easy rides on the big coasters has likely closed, and this is probably when you should consider getting that fast pass if you didn't do so upon opening. Looking at the next tier of coasters below the flagship rides, Mystic Timbers, Banshee, Backlot Stunt Coaster, Adventure Express, and the Bat are all excellent rides to hit at this time. One could easily argue that Mystic Timbers is a flagship ride and not a supporting coaster, and as it does receive long lines, I would check it out. Of concern is also Backlot Stunt Coaster, with its small trains only seating 12 people. If you're using Fastlane, this should be a walk-on, but it can be a bit of a wait without one. Bat and Banshee are next to each other, and as Bat is a longer walk, its lines are usually shorter. Use the Kings Island app and navigate your way to whatever will give you the shortest wait. So by now, we have been walking around for about 3 to 4 hours, hitting everything we can at a breakneck pace. The temperature has also been steadily rising, and the sun is now bearing down on the crowds waiting in these long lines for coasters. This park is a scorcher in the summertime. There is no lake to cool down the surrounding areas unlike at Cedar Point. You wait in a scorching hot line to get a couple of minutes of wind in your face, then sit on a scorching hot brake run waiting to be let off. We all know how this is, and for many, this will be the end of their day at Kings Island. I, however, have found the perfect ride to cure what ails you. Introducing the Kings Island Racer. This ride, which opened with the park in its inaugural year, has both a sheltered queue line and a sheltered brake run. Not only that, this ride is a capacity monster, dispatching up to 60 riders at once. The Racer is probably the most overlooked ride in the entire park, and yet I find that there is no better place to chill in the summer heat. The airtime on this ride is wonderful, and the recent retracking it received makes it glossy smooth for a Woody. To really discuss how great the Racer is on a busy day, I want to give you some context. I attended Kings Island as part of an ACE event on Saturday, May 18th, 2024. This day was insanely busy. There were probably 100 school buses of kids brought in addition to the many families coming in for the day. I log each of my rides as soon as I get off the train. Looking at some of my late afternoon Racer rides, I was logging a ride on Racer every 10 to 11 minutes. So in this interval, I waited in line, got into the station, had my restraints checked, and rode the ride, all in the time period of 10 minutes, rinse and repeat. In the span of an hour, I logged 5 rides on Racer during the busiest part of the day. And these were quality rides too, front and back rows. And this is also with the ride ops constantly making announcements to their team that they were stacking the trains and needed to dispatch faster. If these are slow ops, I would like to see what this team can do on a less hectic day. With the park entering the evening hours, I would consider getting your merch, and if you haven't eaten, you may want to do that as well. There is no remedy for bad lines for food, but I often end up with hotter and fresher food when there is a decent line. With the park dying down for the day, and the school and tour groups on their way out, now is when I would consider hitting up any of the big rides you haven't got to, or heading over to get re-rides on your favorites. For the 2024 season, it looks as if night rides will be scarce, if not impossible, due to corporate's decision to close the park earlier this season. That may be a bummer, but if the opportunity presents itself, you should consider getting Beast and Diamondback night rides. The park is famous for having some of the best night rides around, so the earlier closing is a big head-scratcher to me. Thankfully though, Kings Island keeps their line queues open until right at close, so you can plan on getting those last-minute rides. So just for fun, I'm going to share with you what I accomplished on a super busy Saturday in the park. This list does include ERT from the ACE event in the 2 hours before and after the park was open. If we strike the 4 Banshee rides, 3 of the Beast rides, and the 5 Adventure Express rides, then those are all the rides I was able to get in just the hours that the park was open. Even with Ace attending, I feel I would be hard-pressed to find anyone who got more ride time in that day than I did. So the next time you visit Kings Island, just for the fun of it, see how much you can accomplish in a day. Maybe if you're lucky, it won't be so busy. If it is though, you now have the tools and knowledge to maximize your ride time. I want to thank you for watching the Coaster Serpent, and if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and again, have a wonderful day at the park.